on the sea to provide safety and traffic information to the vessels. For example, for the sea aids of navigation, it will be used to mark the anchorage ground as well as the waterways. So for this kind of equipment, it is a visual aid to navigation. So I'm 164 centimeters. You can see how big it is compared to my height. For the length, I think maybe it is around 4 meters. This is a newly developed comprehensive navigation aid. We own the patent for this navigation aid. The length is 6.7 meters with the diameter of 1.5 meters. And for the other one, this is another kind of navigation aid. It is a kind of backup aid with the diameter of 2.4 meters. Let's take a closer look on this navigation aids. We have only these two kinds of navigation aids on the ground because the other ones are already loaded on the vessel. They are ready for the IALA conference. So you are just talking about the backup aids. So what does that mean? We have some kind of fixed navigation aids. They are actively in use, and for this one, we put it on the ground just in case some of the navigation aids on the sea got damaged, and so we can use this kind of backup navigation aid for a replacement. We have to change this kind of navigation aid from time to time. So some of the navigation aids need routine maintenance. That's why we have to replace these new ones. So what are the materials for this kind of navigation aid, and what are the challenges for us to transport this kind of navigation aid? And for this one, the diameter is 2.4 meters, so it is made from steel. This is a kind of floating navigation aid. As you can see on the bottom part, there was some anchor chain. We need this chain to connect it to the sunken rock on the bottom of the sea. And on the top part, we have to connect these devices onto some lighting equipment. So all of these navigation aids are illuminated at night. So for this equipment, it's very obvious, especially the color. It's very distinct comparison to the color of the sea. So during the daytime, the navigators can see it clearly. Actually, I'm holding a booklet introducing different kinds of navigation aids. So after we get inside of the vessel, we can give you a more detailed explanation. So in the future, if you are on a vessel, you can take a look on different kinds of navigation aids around you. So sometimes you see lighthouses on the sea, so those lighthouses are also functioning as the navigation aid. And for this part, you can see there is a chain, anchored chain. And for this one, it's actually adding some weight to this navigation aid. And we have the navigation aid here, and on the bottom part, you can see the anchor chain. It is quite big. I cannot actually hold it on my hand. And for the navigation aid, for the chain, the diameter is quite large. It's around like 26 meters. So sometimes when you see on the sea, it is a small one for a navigation aid, but it is very heavy and large in size. So for this kind of navigation aids, it will show guidance to the vessels when they're about to enter into the port. So how many varieties of the navigation aid? According to the functions, we have the visual aids to navigation, so you can see it clearly. And also we have the audible aids to navigation, which means you can hear it. So for this kind of audible aims to navigation, it will send out a kind of signal. For this kind of audible signals, it has very good transmission on the sea. And also we have the radio aids to navigation. We're using some modern technologies. For example, we're using the automatic identification system. If there are some marine accidents happened on the sea, we can use the radio aids to navigation to send out signals. So for me, my understanding is that it's just like we are sending out a kind of signal from our GPS system. So other people will know there may be an accident happening at a certain location, so they will go around this area. Now we are also installing a marine map. We have a physical map on the sea, and also we have an electronic marine map. So first of all, we will set up a virtual AIS to mark the marine map. For the other vessels, after they receive the message sending out from the marine map, so they understand there may be some accidents happening on the sea. Some of the netizens are interested if all of the navigators can see the virtual AIS. Yes, all of the vessels, they need to install a kind of GPS system in order to better understand the waterways. So my understanding is that if we have the electronic marine map, does that mean some of the mark will be shown on the GPS system? Actually, for some of the vehicle GPS, we also have this kind of function. If there is an accident happening on the streets, so your vehicle will receive a kind of a signal. Well, that's pretty much similar to what we have right now. We have the differential global navigation satellite system, and we also have the automatic identification system. In some of the waterways, it is very difficult to send out the signals. And on some waterways, there are also some anchorage ground and the shores. So that's why we have to apply this differential global navigation satellite system. So what do you mean by saying differential GNS? For GPS, so the location is quite large, like the range is quite broad, but if we use the DGNS system, it will be more precise for the location. And you're talking about this design, it's like a comprehensive navigation aid, and you can use it in 4 seasons of the year. So what is the specialty for this kind of aids? For example, for these white ones, during winter, some of the waterways will be iced, and some of these aids will be damaged. That's why we developed this kind of all-season navigation aid. It is ice-proofed. Even though during winter there was some ice covering on the ground, but this kind of navigation aid can still be floating above the sea and provide visual aids to the navigators. So that's why we want to design this all-season favored navigation aid. And all of this material are selected, and all of the lights are favorable to all seasons. And in the past, we're using the traditional type, but it is quite out of date. So even though we can receive some radio or like audible signals, but people cannot see it clearly, that's why we changed the equipment into this all-season navigation aid. So during winter, you can still see it clearly. Because of the seasonality, we have to change the navigation aid during spring and during winter. But if we can create for one navigation aid fits all seasons, so we can save some cost. So I think many netizens are waiting for us to board on this buoy-laying vessel. This is the first time that we will attend this IALA conference with a vessel. So for the ALA conference, it happens every 4 years. So IALA conference, it is the conference on International Association of Marine Aids to Navigation and Lighthouse Authorities. Again, IALA means the International Association of Marine Aids to Navigation and Lighthouse Authorities. It's quite long, but we use the short term, the IALA. So this year is our first time to attend this conference with a vessel. And this is the first time that we showcase our buoy-laying vessel to the world. Per invitation of the IALA conference, China has decided we dispatched Haixun 153 to attend this conference. So that is the vessel. So let's take a look on this vessel. I think it's quite large in size for this vessel, and it's quite empty and spacious here. Maybe I think for the deck, it is used to accommodate different kinds of navigation aids. For the traditional type of the buoy-laying vessel, the design of the hatch is quite different from this one. This one is a embedded design of the hatch, so we can save more space to accommodate more navigation aids and improve the efficiency. Now we can see for the deck it's quite spacious. For this size of deck, how many buoys we can accommodate? Now we can accommodate around 12 buoys on this deck, but in the traditional type of deck, they can also accommodate 6. And what is this one? So this is an anchor chain system. When we are changing the buoy and setting up the buoy, we have this anchor chain system. By using the hydraulic winch, we can lift the buoys. And for the length of the chain, it is around 80 meters. It is more effective than traditional vessels, because in the past, the anchor chain system is a vertical system, and we have to use a lot of labor in order to lift the buoy. And just another gentleman attending our live streaming. I want to ask, did you use the traditional type of vessel for the laying out of the buoy? When I was in the internship, I used to board on one of the traditional vessels for the buoy laying, but it consumes a lot of power and not that effective. But now we're using this modernized vessel. All of the processes can be mechanized. It will be more effective for us. So now we need at least like 2 people to do the work. One person in charge of the winch, the other one is in charge of the crane. And we may have 5 or 6 people on the deck to do the buoy laying. But in the past, probably we need more than 10 people to do the buoy laying. So now it is more effective right now. And for this part, it is the crane system. So for this 2 lifting system, the capacity is 20 tons, and for the smaller one, the capacity is 9 tons. We have like 2 different designs for the crane. So basically, I want to ask, what's the weight for one standard buoy? And on the sea, we have different kinds of beacons. On the sea, we have articulated beacon. It is made from steel. It is very heavy on the sea and require high standard of the precision. And also, the anchor chain will be affected by the wind power. So for the articulated beacon, as it requires high precision, that's why we need a high power anchor chain capstan to cast the beacon. So for the crane we have on this buoy laying vessel, the lifting height is around 22 meters. So this is the only vessel that can cast the articulated beacon onto the sea. We are talking about the articulated beacon, and we also talk about the precision, meaning that every process needs to be conducted precisely according to the standard. So let's take a look on the leaflet. Well, we're sorry that we don't have the articulated beacon listed on this brochure, but maybe we can take a look on the other types of the navigation aids. Let's look at this one. This is a orientation navigation aid. And you can see there is a triangle at the top of this navigation aid. So when people see the triangle shape, they understand that it is facing the south. So when you are seeing this triangle sign, you will understand that you have to navigate towards the southern side of the waterway in order to ensure safety. So meaning that when you see this navigation aid, meaning that you have to travel south in order to ensure safety on the navigation. And for this one, it's a navigation aid to mark the risk. So this one is what we call a virtual navigation aid. Some people may ask why you are showing all of this kind of information on the brochure, because all of these navigation aids are quite large in size. That's why we cannot show you one by one on site. So maybe we just look at some pictures first. So for this one, it's the navigation aid to mark the danger. For example, some marine accidents and shoals and anchorage ground, etc. Meaning that when you are on a navigation, when you see this kind of navigation aid, you probably have to navigate around this area. And this one is the right side navigation aid. And also you see different types of triangle. So one is called the left side navigation aid, the other one is the right side navigation aid. Just as I said, when entering to the port, if I see the left side navigation aid, meaning that I have to navigate on the left side in order to ensure the safety of the navigation. So again, this kind of navigation aid is to show the orientation and direction of the navigation. Well, this is a little bit different for the vehicle. So why we have to identify the left and right direction on the waterway? So for the driving is quite different. It is a two-way driving, but for the port, usually it is a one-way direction. So all of these navigation aids aims to mark the direction of the navigation. The entry and exit of the waterway need to be clearly marked. And for the left side navigation aid and the right side navigation aid also have a different color. And you can see on top of this navigation aid, we have a different shape for indication. And there is a yellow one in the middle. We call it specialized navigation aid. What does that mean? This one is in yellow. So this kind of aid will mark the anchorage ground. And this one is a lighthouse. I think for the lighthouse, it's a giant size of the navigation aid, because the function of the lighthouse also to provide some information to the vessels. And for the lighthouse, it also equipped with the radio system. And for the lighthouse, it is quite illuminant. For example, in Tianjin, when you enter into the port, you can see the lighthouse without hesitation. It's quite clear and obvious. And also the location system is quite precise for the lighthouse. When we are entering off the port of Tianjin, we can actually use the radio system to better locate ourselves. Here we have another one. This one is also a left side navigation aid. We call it ice navigation aid. We will use this kind of ice navigation aid during winter. For this one, we probably use it in certain season. But now we will use the all-season navigation aid, so we don't need to do the replacement quite often during the year. Because in the past, during spring or during winter, we have to change a different kind of navigation aid. But now we just have invented the navigation aid for all seasons, and they have very strong anti-ice capabilities that can be used throughout the year. And for these two, it looks very similar, but the color is different. This is just a beacon. We put it on the ground. So for the color, it does not have any specific meaning. So there's no specifications for the color. It's just a preference from the designer. And today we have just seen so many different kinds of aids to navigation. And most of the navigation aids that we can see on the sea are covered in this brochure. And for this buoy-laying vessel, it can accommodate around 12 navigation aids, which pose a higher standard for the buoy-laying vessel. For this buoy-laying vessel, it is the most advanced vessel in China, and it even reached the international standard. And for this vessel, we have a dynamic positioning system. Through this dynamic positioning system, the vessel can approach to navigation aids on the sea. And the dynamic positioning system can do the calculation about the weather condition and choose the favorable path to approach to the navigation aid. So can we get on this vessel to get a closer look? Yes. Now we can see the cabin room. So we have 3 layers of deck on this vessel. As I just said, there were 4 layers of this vessel. So after we enter into this vessel, maybe the signal will be affected a little bit. So we are about to enter into the steering room for the vessel. So for this cabin, probably only 2 people can enter into this passage. So we would like to show you around what it looks like for the steering room. So it's quite transparent in this room. We can see all the navigation aids clearly. Let's take a look on the steering room. Do we have to watch out for the deck when we are doing the buoy laying? Yes. Even though there was some working staff on the deck, but still, for the people who steer the whole vessel, need to be visible for what's happening on the deck. And we're just talking about the dynamic positioning system. Can you show me the system? So we have to start the system in order to show you some of the images. This is the control panel. We have the radar and also the electronic marine map, as well as the dynamic positioning system. It is quite precise from the dynamic positioning system. Says we also have the DGPS system, and we can realize a high precision location. So what's the significance for the GDPS for the buoy laying? As I just mentioned, in some of the waterways, the situation is quite complicated, which require high precision. And if we have this kind of a system, we can lay out the buoy quite precisely, avoid some risks. And when we are laying the buoy, we have to make sure that it's quite stable on the vessel in order to lay the buoy. Now the system is turning on. Let's take a look on this dynamic positioning system. We see 3 large screens here. So for the middle one, it shows the electronic marine map. It looks very technical. And for myself, I cannot understand what's on the marine map. Can you explain this map to us? So this is the destination, as I just showed you. And we have already installed the electronic map into the vessel. So can I see some of the navigation aids on this map? Yes, you can see some of the navigation aids from South Korea. You can see the color, the green one and the red one. And just see some of the pictures of the buoy, and some of them are marked red for the left side buoy, and there were some green right side buoy as well. But the situation is quite different in Korean. So for the waterway in different countries, there are some different regulations applied to that. And for this one is the dynamic positioning system. When we are doing the buoy laying, we have to start this dynamic positioning system and change the position of the antenna. So here I can enter the exact position we want in order to adjust the position for the antenna. For the traditional type, it is very difficult to adjust the antenna, but for this dynamic positioning system, we can adjust the position quite simply by entering to the parameters. So we can adjust the antenna to the middle part of the vessel. In the past, people have to do it manually, but if we have the system, we can just enter the parameters that we want. It is energy saving. It seems quite easy. And we can achieve a very precise positioning for our vessel. So now we can see a lot of convenience that has been brought by the high tech. Now we are at the Tianjin port. Here we are at the Haihe River. And here it is our buoy laying vessel. So you can see there is a mark on the map to show the location of the vessel. For the map, it is quite clear, and we can see the bridge clearly. And actually, that bridge is just in front of us, and we can see the vehicles. And for the marine map, it is quite user-friendly because it does not show some of the information on the ground. And I just learned different kinds of the navigation aids, so I want to test myself. So for the red one and the green one, does that mean the direction? So the left navigation aid is in red and the right navigation aid is in green. And we also see the blue triangle is moving. Does that mean one ship is entering into the waterline? Yes, that means the vessel is about to enter into the port. And also we can see this vessel is strictly follow the guidance that has been provided by the navigation aid. That's why it travels on the right side. As I just said that for other waterways, all of these vessels are actually traveling at the center part of the waterway. But in Tianjin port, it is quite unique. That's why we have some navigation aid set up in Tianjin port. So for this kind of waterways, the large size vessels will travel in the middle, and for the smaller size, they will use the side waterway. and it will be more convenient. And for this one, I think it means the southern navigation aid. Yes, meaning that when you're entering into the port, if you're facing south, you will be safe. And also in the electronic map, it also shows the direction. So on the upper side is the north, and for the lower side is the south. And we can also see the depth of the water on this map. Well, there was so many knowledge about this marine map. When I see it, I can understand. For this one, it shows south. And we have a southern part of the navigation aid, and also we have a northern navigation aid, meaning that when you're traveling to the north side, you will be safe. So from this waterway, I think most of the navigation aid we have just seen are shown on this map. And also we see some indication of the border of the waterway. Actually, one function of the navigation aid is to mark the border of the waterway. And this one is the electronic marine map. In the past, we don't have this kind of dynamic positioning system. That's why navigation aids are so important in the past, because it shows directions and offering guidance to navigators. Just as I said, that's why Lighthouse are so important for us. So when people enter into Tianjin port, they can see Lighthouse immediately, and they will understand they're about to back home. Let's see this radar system. For this radar system, actually, you can also receive the information that was sent from the navigation aid, the radio aids to navigation. In the past, this radar system was not connected to the AIS, which is the automatic identification system. But now, as all of these are integrated together, so for the radar system can also identify the name of the vessel and understand some basic information about the navigation of the vessel. So by using this kind of radar system, it can provide more safe guidance to the vessels. So for example, when a vessel is entering into certain waterways, the radar system will send out alarms to the navigator to show there were other vessels on this area. And this time, we are taking the buoy laying vessel to participate in the IALA conference. We have taken different kinds of navigation aids to the conference, and we will also have some academic exchanges with other countries. And as we heard that for the IALA conference is actually like a World Cup for the navigation aids. This time we are attending this IALA conference on behalf of China. And for ALA, it not only invited China to participate in the conference, it also invited US to participate in this conference. And we'll also show some technological achievements in this conference. And we're also taking some of the navigation and the positioning system with us. And AIS system and some Beidou navigation system. All of these systems are developed by China MSA. So all of these are big technological achievements in China, and we want to showcase these achievements to the world. So except for those technological achievements, what are the other things that we have been taken to attend this conference? And for this ALA conference, we have over 80 countries to participate. So there were so many seminars and discussion sessions that we will have during the meeting. And we also prepare some small presents. And we also prepare some specialties from Tianjin, so we can use them as a gift for other countries. Now we are at the staircase. Maybe the signal will not be that good. This is a small conference room in the vessel. It feels like we have a lot of presents that we have prepared. So this is a model for the Haixun 153. As we just said that we can accommodate a variety of navigation aids on the deck. So on the model, you can see clearly, this is the articulated beacon. So for the beacon itself, it will be connected to the sunken rock directly. So for the middle one, this one will be connected directly to the sunken rock at the bottom of the sea. And we have a larger one for the model. This is the articulated beacon, and it requires very precise operation. We have a series of systems on the control panel in order to give better support to the navigation of the vessel. So these are the presents that we have prepared for the participants in the LA conference. So now we have come to the end of our live streaming, because this buoy vessel is about to leave the port to the 19th ALA conference. Thank you for watching, and wish you a pleasant journey to the IALA conference. Thank you so much.